My cousins said I was too soft to handle my late father's property. They said I didn't understand how real estate worked. What they didn't know was that while they were planning how to take it from me, I had already secured ownership in a way they could never undo. My name is Adrian, and the day my father died, my relatives stopped seeing me as family and started seeing me as an obstacle. The property in question wasn't just land, it was the house I grew up in, a 2-story home my father had built from scratch after working construction jobs for almost 15 years. I still remembered him coming home late, covered in dust, placing blueprints on the dining table while my mom served dinner beside unfinished wall frames. That house was his pride, and after he passed away, it became their target. At the funeral, everything seemed normal. Tears, hugs, whispers about how sudden it all was. But even as condolences were being exchanged, I caught fragments of conversations. Prime location, property values have gone up. It would be a shame if it was mismanaged. I didn't realize they weren't just talking, they were planning. 3 days later, my uncle Rashid invited me over for tea. He spoke slowly, like he was trying not to upset me. "Adrian, you're still young. Managing property isn't easy." I nodded politely. "There are taxes, maintenance, legal paperwork," he continued. "Sometimes it's better to let someone more experienced handle things." Handle things. That phrase stuck with me. Then he slid a folder across the table. "Just a temporary management agreement," he said, "so we can make sure everything runs smoothly until you're ready." I opened it. It didn't look temporary. It gave him authority to lease, refinance, or even sell portions of the land without needing my consent once signed. My chest tightened. "I'll need time to review this," I replied. He smiled. "We're family, Adrian. There's no need for lawyers." That was the moment something felt wrong. That night, I went back to the house and opened the drawer in my father's study, the one he never let anyone else touch. Inside were neatly organized documents: utility bills, insurance papers, land records, and one sealed envelope with my name written across it. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a notarized transfer document dated 6 months before his death. It transferred full legal ownership of the property to me. But there was something else. A second page. It wasn't ownership. It was a registered survivorship clause, meaning even if someone tried to dispute inheritance later, the property would legally bypass probate and transfer directly to me upon his passing. No delays, no claims, no shared control. Just me. My father had anticipated something. The next morning, my uncle called again. "The buyers are already asking about future development potential," he said casually. "Buyers? I thought this was about management," I replied. He paused. "Well, management sometimes includes exploring options." Options. I agreed to meet again, but this time I brought a property lawyer with me. My uncle's confident. When I asked around, I discovered that my cousins had already been discussing potential sale prices with investors, assuming they would eventually control the property through inheritance disputes. But the survivorship clause blocked everything. They couldn't challenge it, they couldn't delay it, they couldn't touch it. Within a week, things escalated. My relatives started showing up at the house, suggesting partnerships, proposing renovations, even offering to buy my share. My share? There was no share. The final confrontation happened during a family gathering. My uncle pulled me aside. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly. "Selling now would benefit everyone." "Everyone except me," I replied. "You don't understand the pressure this could create," he warned. "I understand ownership," I said calmly. That's when his tone changed. "You've always been weak, Adrian, too emotional to make real decisions." I didn't respond because I didn't need to. A week later, the development firm contacted him again. Only this time, they weren't asking about buying the property. They were asking about vacating it. Apparently, he had already signed a preliminary intent letter to sell development rights, assuming ownership would transfer to the family collectively after probate, which means he had made promises he couldn't legally keep, promises now backed by penalties. And because his name wasn't on the title, those penalties fell entirely on him. The same agreement he expected to profit from was now a liability he couldn't escape. The day he received the legal notice, he came to the house again, not to negotiate, but to ask for help. "If you just agree to the sale, this all goes away," he said. I shook my head. No. For the first time, he looked uncertain. But here's the part he never expected. Because alongside the survivorship clause, my father had also registered a non-development restriction for 5 years, meaning the land couldn't legally be sold to developers without my written consent, even if ownership somehow changed later, consent I was never going to give. The property they thought they could take from me was already secured in a way they could never access, and the plan they thought would make them rich ended up costing them everything. Adrian discovers his father secretly transferred full ownership of the family property to him months before his death, including a survivorship clause and development restriction that not only blocks his relatives' takeover, but traps his uncle in a legally binding agreement he made without authority.